Hello students. So in this session we are going to discuss about the extra concepts for competitives from the chapter capacitors. We have already discussed about the extra concepts required from first chapter electric charges and fields in the regular class itself, and I have given you list of formulae and the extra concepts. I have explained it in the class itself. And after that, I have also given you the extra concepts and list of formula required for the chapter electrostatic potential. This is this single chapter, electrostatic potential and capacitance. But the electrostatic potential part is done. And now I am going to give you the capacitors parts extra concepts required. And once you have all these extra concepts, formulae from this section, this includes the complete electrostatics, so that we can start solving problems on them. So let us start from the simplest formula of capacitance. Capacitance C of any object is given by C is equal to Q by V, where Q is the amount of charge stored in the body and V is the potential developed in the body due to the accumulation of this much of charge. C is equal to Q by V. This is valid for any body that we choose. And then capacitance of a parallel plate capacitor. Parallel plate capacitors capacitance is given by C is equal to epsilon naught K A by D. Very easy formula which we have discussed and derived, where K is the dielectric constant of the medium introduced between the plates, A is the area of each plate which are equal, D is the distance of separation between the plates, epsilon naught electrical permittivity of the free space. If the medium is filled, medium is not filled, which means if there exists air or vacuum between the plates, then the value of K should be taken as 1. So that is about second formula, easy one. And moving ahead, the third formula is capacitance of a spherical capacitor. What do you mean by spherical capacitor? How does it look like? A spherical capacitor looks like this. A bigger sphere, say of radius B, and a smaller sphere, say of radius A, with common center. Two concentric spheres, one of radius A and the other of radius B, where B is greater than A. For this kind of a spherical capacitor, the capacitance is given by C is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught AB by P minus A, or BA minus B minus A. It would be easy for you to remember if you keep it as BA minus VA by B minus A. This is the formula for capacitance of a spherical capacitor. Okay. So the same phenomena happens even in the spherical capacitor. What was the phenomena? Separation of charges, or depositing negative charge on one sphere and positive charge on the other sphere. So this is how much is the capacitance of this spherical capacitor. Moving ahead, considering a cylindrical capacitor. How does a cylindrical capacitor look like? A cylindrical capacitor looks as such. So this is about capacitance of a cylindrical capacitor. So the cylindrical capacitor looks as follows. A cylinder, hollow cylinder, and another cylinder of smaller radius, both with common axis, axis is common. Let R1 be the radius of the smaller cylinder and R2 be the radius of the larger cylinder, and L be the length of both the cylinders. For such a capacitor, the capacitance is given by C is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught is common, and then we will have L by 2 ln, okay, ln log, I hope you are aware of that, ln R2 by R1. So this is the formula for capacitance of a cylindrical capacitor, one with radius R1, the other with radius R2, length of the capacitor is L, and this is the formula. Clear? So this is about cylindrical capacitor. Moving ahead, if we have an isolated sphere. So moving ahead, if we have an isolated sphere, a simple sphere, hollow sphere of radius capital R, what is the amount of charge that we can store in it, or the capacitance? Very easy, it's C is equal to capacitance of this isolated sphere is C is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught R. 4 pi epsilon naught R is the expression for capacitance of an isolated sphere. Okay, it's isolated, which means there are no other spheres, no other devices, electrical devices surrounding it. It's isolated, and this isolated sphere has also got certain ability to store charge. That ability itself is this capacitance. C is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught R. Okay, very important. So this is about capacitance of different sphere, different capacitors, and from now onwards we are going to concentrate or discuss only about parallel plate capacitor in detailedly. The different combinations and all will be sticking with parallel plate capacitor, but these formulae are important. There are derivations for these formulae, but they take too much of math. You should make use of calculus and all. Yes, you can derive it, but again calculus part comes, that's where the problem starts. Even if you can memorize this, that's also fine. As of memorizing these three formulae, these are familiar to you, isn't it? C is equal to Q by V, C is equal to epsilon naught K, A by D. These formulae are very familiar to you. But this formula of spherical capacitor, cylindrical capacitor and isolated sphere, they are the new formula for you. And you can see a pattern, common pattern in the formula. All the expressions, the three formulae has got 4 pi epsilon naught, 4 pi epsilon naught, 4 pi epsilon naught in them, right? And with that 4 pi epsilon naught, they have BA by B minus A, right? Here they have BA by B minus A, and here for cylindrical capacitor it is L by 2 ln R2 by R1, L by 2 ln R2 by R1, and here for isolated sphere it is simply R. 4 pi epsilon naught is common for all the three spherical, cylindrical and isolated sphere. Along with 4 pi epsilon naught, for spherical capacitor you have Ba by B minus A. For cylindrical capacitor you have L by 2 ln R2 by R1. R2 radius of the bigger cylinder, R1 radius of the smaller. And 4 pi epsilon naught common, R is the only term which you get for isolated sphere. Clear? And from now onwards we will take the discussion ahead with parallel plate capacitor with different combinations. Let's see. Now we shall look into the combination of capacitors. As I have told, we will be restricting our discussion to parallel plate capacitors. Okay, so whatever we discuss from now onwards will be only on parallel plate capacitor, and we will combine parallel plate capacitors. Okay, so it's combination of capacitors. We have various combinations possible, infinite combinations can be found, but there are two basic combinations, very basic. One is series combination, the other is parallel combination. Yes, we have discussed about both of them in our regular board classes itself, and we have also solved problems based on that. But those formula gives us the basic idea about the combination, so we should look into it again. So when it comes to combination of capacitors, for series combination, which means we will have capacitors connected from one end of the capacitor to the other end of the capacitor like this. And if we have the capacitors given by the capacitances C1, C2 and C3, for series combination 1 by Cs, where Cs is the equivalent or effective capacitance. 1 by Cs is equal to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3 plus so on. If you have only two capacitors given, then you can directly take Cs is equal to C1 C2 by C1 plus C2. That is also fine. If we have only two capacitors, then Cs is equal to C1 C2 by C1 plus C2 can be easily taken directly. Next, for parallel combination, of capacitors, how does it actually look like? We will have capacitors connected from one terminal to the other terminal like this. Right? So for this kind of parallel combination, we have the effective capacitance Cp is equal to C1 plus C2 plus C3, so on. Okay, so these two are basic combinations and the formulae are also easy. But now comes little complex combinations whose formulae, some of them do not have the direct formulae, but we need to decide it using certain laws. Let us look into those kind of complex combination now. So now complex combination, first kind of it is different dielectric medium in a single capacitor. So far in the board syllabus, what we have discussed is the capacitor, which means the space between the plates, will have a single dielectric medium, either air or any other medium filled in it, right? But now it's not mandatory that it should remain the same. We can fill different mediums inside the space. As an example, let me give you the idea with the example. If I have a capacitor, like this. So this is a parallel plate capacitor, but lower half of the capacitor is filled with a medium of dielectric constant K3, and upper half is again divided into two vertically, and one of the vertical part is filled with the dielectric medium of dielectric constant K1, and the other half is filled with dielectric medium of dielectric constant K2. Now if this is the situation, say K1 has K1 is one of the medium, K2 is the other medium, K3 is one more medium. So we have three mediums in a single capacitor. How to solve this kind of capacitor? How to get the effective capacitance of this capacitor? Very easy. We are going to simplify the circuit, or split the circuit, or reduce the circuit as follows. Here I am going to take it directly. K1 and K2 are in series, right? See, what is there between K1 and K2? It's nothing. K1 and K2 are in physical contact. Instead of that physical contact, even if we place a metallic plate here at the left end of K1 and another metallic plate here at the right end of K2 and connect them using a wire, like this, even then the electrical property of the combination remains the same, isn't it? Direct physical contact or connecting them using plates and wires, the electrical property will not change, the potential will remain the same. Now we have a single plate here and one more plate here, both of them are single plates, and it doesn't matter even if we cut this plate in the middle and connect them using the wire like this, which means, say I'll take K3 here, okay, I'll take K3 here, this is the K3, and I'll just connect this part with this part, this part with this part. Even then the electrical property remains the same. Clear? So this is how we need to reduce the circuit or simplify the circuit, and then now we can solve this capacitor and this. Say if I name the capacitors as C1, C2 and C3, C1 and C2 are in series and together they are in parallel with C3. That's how we solve this circuit. Clear? Easy. Now the other important part while choosing K1, K2 and K3, I mean C1, C2 and C3, the formula of parallel plate capacitance is C is equal to epsilon naught K A by D. Epsilon naught is common for all the three, don't need to worry about it. Here comes K, which changes with each capacitor. For the first it is K1, for the second is K2, for the third it is K3. Yes, K changes. How about A? You should look into the partition that they have made very carefully, because if the dividing is happening exactly at the middle of the plates, then exact half of the area will be up in the top of the capacitor and the exact half will be in the bottom. So now area shared by K2 and K3 are same, even with K1 and K3. K1, K2 and K3 will share equal area in this kind of partition. division. If we have different kind of division, then we should look carefully to the given data. Say if we have this kind of division, okay, like this, okay, yeah, then we should look carefully to the given data. What is the length given for the first medium and length given for the second and third medium? Then you should choose the proper area. Be careful with that. And then D is the distance of separation between the plates. Now, for K1, distance of separation between the plates is half of the original length between the plates of the given capacitor, right? This much. And that is equal to the distance of separation with K2. But for K3, it is the original length itself, isn't it? The total length, right? So, D is this much for K3 and D is this much for K1 and this much for K2. That's how the circuit works. Okay? And what I suggest is you get C1, C2, C3, the combination first. Like CS for this is C1, C2 by C1 plus C2 because C1, C2 are in series plus C3. Now, anyhow, epsilon naught is constant, A is also constant for all of them. So, epsilon naught and A can be taken out as a common factor. What remains inside is, see, for this combination, A is constant, A is same for all of them. But if the combination is like this, A will not be the same. You should work for A. Okay? So that's how you should get C1, C2, C3 and put them into this formula and get the value of CS. Or this is not CS, this is C equivalent capacitance. Clear about this? So this is one kind of complex combination of capacitors. Now we shall look for the other way of complex combination. The next kind of complex combination is the line capacitor. Line capacitor means they will not give you the exact this kind of parallel plate capacitor. Instead, they will give you the combination of lines. Again, I will explain this with an example. So, if I have a circuit given to solve like this. So, this is point A and this is point B. These are the plates which are equidistant from each other and has the same area of cross section. Okay, just a simple example, then you need to build on it. Okay. If you have such capacitor given, how do you solve this? Basically, it doesn't look like a capacitor, but yes, it is a capacitor. These are the plates. Okay. If this is the kind of problem given, then you should number the plates as 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever the number of plates you have to number them as such. And then you should start choosing the plates which are in parallel with each other without any plate in between. Okay. See now plate 1 and plate 2. See these lines, they are simple wires. These lines are wires. Don't need to bother about them. Only these lines represent the plates of the capacitor. These parallel lines. Now we have line 1 and line 2 which are parallel to each other. Sorry, not line, plate 1 and plate 2 parallel to each other without any line in between. So this combination of plate 1 and plate 2 makes us a capacitor. So I will draw them here, 1, 2. So this is how I can draw. Okay. Now similarly, plate 2 and plate 3 together can make a capacitor again. So that looks somewhat like this, plate 2 and plate 3. And again plate 3 and plate 4 together makes a capacitor. I'll also draw a capacitor for that, plate 3 and plate 4. Now we have moved a step ahead. First step is naming the plates, numbering the plates, then deciding the number of capacitors inside the combination and drawing them here. Now what kind of connection do they have, do these capacitors have with each other is the question. Let us look into that. See, I have a terminal A here and the other terminal B here, right? So now if you look closely, I have intentionally drawn them like this, okay, in this order, in this pattern, the way, okay, because so that the reduction of circuit becomes easy for me. So now let me start combining them. Look at this. 2 is the single plate which I have split into 2 plates. So I can connect them like this because it's the single plate which I have split to make 2 capacitors. Again, same thing with 3. So I can also connect it like this. Okay. The same kind of pattern can be followed like this and like this. This drawings doesn't matter. It's about the connection which we should make carefully. And now comes the connection from the terminals. Terminal A has the connection to first plate and third plate. So from A there goes the connection to first plate and third plate. Okay. So this is the third plate to which terminal A goes. And terminal B has the connection to second plate and fourth plate. So fourth plate and second plate. So this is the reduced circuit now. Now if I move a step ahead and reduce this again, the circuit would look somewhat like this. From A, one of the capacitor and one more capacitor, one more capacitor. From the surface, when we look at it, it looks like a series capacitor, but it is not because we have one more connection from A to this and this to B, right? This is the circuit, and this is actually a parallel circuit, parallel combination of 3 capacitors. See, if you can visualize, see this is where you can put the point P, B. It doesn't matter because this point, this point, this point, this point, and these two will have the same potential, right? So this is the point B and this is the point A, and from A there goes to one of the terminal of first capacitor, and from A there goes a connection to the terminal of both second capacitor and third capacitor. I'm sorry, this is the second capacitor, and there goes a connection also to the third capacitor here. And from B there goes a connection to here. First, if I start it like this, there goes a connection to third capacitor and one more connection here to both first and second. So this is actually a parallel combination. Keep this in mind. If you have such arrangement, it is a parallel combination of capacitors. And the same thing, whatever we are discussing here, this kind of combination is also valid for resistors. If you have resistors connected like this, even then it is parallel combination of resistors. So now it is simple. It is C1 plus C2 plus C3. That's it, isn't it? So this is actually a parallel combination of 3 capacitors shown like this, and this is the reduced form of the circuit which has to be solved to get the effective capacitance. Okay. And if you have more number of lines given here, which mean the plates, here we had only 4 plates given, here we have 6 plates given. These 6 plates together will give us 5 capacitors, and those 5 capacitors similar to this, they will be in parallel with each other. Okay, keep this in mind. They are actually simple parallel capacitance combination if we have lines given like this. For different combinations, you can solve them by looking into the arrangement of lines given. Now moving ahead with complex combinations. I think this was 4th complex combination. Now moving ahead for the other complex combination, now we will look into some symmetrical circuits. Before I go for symmetry, I would like to give you few basic circuits and build the circuit to the complex level. Say I have a circuit given like this. Okay. Now, if you are asked to solve this circuit, will that be easy or difficult for you? What do you think? The circuit might look complex, but it is easy. These 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 are in series, and these 4 are in series, and the effective of these 4 and the effective of these 4 are in parallel. That's it. Very easy to solve. But if the circuit becomes little more complex, like this, now starts the challenge. What is the challenge that we face here? The challenge that we face here is we cannot find any noun combination of capacitors. We do not have either series because this comes in middle, or parallel because we cannot have parallel capacitors, end-to-end connection we cannot see. So we do not have well established capacitors, combination of capacitors here. So then we should look for the alternative method to solve this. So in order to solve this, we have 2 methods. The complex circuits of this kind. The first is looking for parallel symmetry in the circuit. What is parallel? Parallel is like this, right? One line parallel to the other. Or we can also say axial symmetry. Okay? Parallel symmetry or axial symmetry. I hope axial symmetry word would be easy for you to make the symmetry pattern here. What do you mean by axial symmetry? It means that if I divide the circuit horizontally or axially like this, yes, it is also known as horizontal symmetry. That's also fine. Horizontal symmetry. Okay. So what do you mean by that? If I divide the circuit exactly into 2 parts, 2 equal parts, horizontally, okay, then the upper part should be the reflection of lower part. Okay, what do you mean by that? If I keep a mirror here, the reflection that I get in the mirror should be same as the lower part of the mirror. Getting the idea? That is parallel symmetry or axial symmetry or horizontal symmetry. Now, which means that if all the capacitors has the same capacitance, then it's fine, well and good. Yes, it is obviously it has the parallel symmetry. But if you have somewhat like this capacitor has the capacitance C and this has 2C, this has 3C and this has 2C again, this has C, this has say 4C. If this is the situation, then in order to have horizontal symmetry, these capacitors, say now this is the half of the arrangement given, okay, this is just an imaginary line, there is no wire like this, keep that in mind. This is the half of the circuit given, and say if they ask you what should be the capacitances of the lower part of the circuit, if the circuit is in horizontal symmetry, then see here we have C, so here also we should have C, and then here I have 2C. This is the symmetry of this, parallel symmetry of this, which must have 2C again, and 3C here, the reflection is here 3C, 2C, 2C and C, so C, 4C, 4C. So now the circuit can be taken as the circuit with horizontal symmetry. Okay. So this is just deciding what is horizontal symmetry. But yes, we do have a pattern, horizontal symmetry can be found. What is the use of this? How the basic intention of us is to get the is to solve the circuit, or we can say is to reduce the circuit. Now we shall see how to reduce a horizontal symmetric circuit. Take this note, if you have a horizontally symmetric circuit, then you can overlap upper part with lower part. Overlap upper part of the circuit with lower part of the circuit. What do you mean by overlapping? Say, for example, if I have the same circuit in a sheet, now I can fold the sheet like this. Even then, the electrical property of the circuit will not change. Which means, I can join this point with this point. See, when I fold it, you shouldn't worry about the capacitors. You should always worry about the terminals of the wire, how they join with each other when they overlap. So this terminal is going to overlap with this, and this terminal is going to overlap with this, and this terminal is going to overlap with this. That is how the circuit will look like if we overlap or fold the circuit. And we can only fold or overlap the circuit if we have parallel symmetry or horizontal symmetry. Keep that in mind. Okay. If the circuit has horizontal symmetry, we can overlap the upper part with the lower part, and now we can start reducing the circuit as follows. Now, okay, that's fine, but how to reduce the circuit? That's the question. See, now when they overlap, this terminal and this terminal meet each other, which means I can consider that this terminal and this terminal will have the same potential, isn't it? When they come in contact, they will have same potential, isn't it? And so in order to reduce, I'll name these terminals as 1, 2, 3, 4 or A, B, C, D. Okay, let me name this terminal as A and this as B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. Okay. So when I fold, C and G are connected with each other. They are common points. So when they have horizontal symmetry, we can fold. When we fold it, potential at point C will become equal to potential at point D, and potential at point B will become equal to potential at point H, and potential at D will become equal to potential at F. This is about potentials. This is just to make sure that we are going in the right way. But the reduced circuit will be as follows. So this is a technique of redrawing the circuit. What we will do is, we will put the terminals here as follows. I have terminal A, isolated terminal, Okay, and I have a terminal B and H. Upon overlapping, both B and H can be taken as one single node, isn't it? So I'll consider a single node of B and H. Okay, and I have, okay, C and G together making a node, right? C and G together making a node. I is the point which do not overlap with any other point, so it's a single point which shall also be considered like this. And then these three over, D and F overlap, so together they make single point D and F. E is one more point which is again isolated. Okay, clear how I drew the points? Point A first, B and H overlap, C and G overlap, I is isolated, D and F overlap, E is again isolated. Now I shall start drawing the capacitors. From A to B, I have one capacitor of capacitance C. Okay, from A to B. And from A to H, I have another capacitor of capacitance C from A to H, which is the same point, right? So from A to H, I have one more capacitor of capacitance C. This part is done. Now from B to C, I have one capacitor of capacitance 2C. And from B to I have a capacitor of capacitance 4C. From B to I of capacitance 4C. Then B is done. Let me come to H. From H to I have a capacitor of capacitance 4C again, right? And from H itself I have a capacitor 2C of capacitance 2C going to G. From H to G, capacitance is 2C. So point H is done. Now let me come to point I. From I have a capacitor going to D, whose capacitance is C. So I have C going to D. And from I have another capacitor of capacitance C going to F. Okay, and I part is done. Now let me come to D and F. So did we go for C and G? No, right? Okay, let me come to C. So from C to D, I have a capacitor of capacitance 3C. And from C is done, that's it. From G to F, another capacitor of 3C, right? G to F. Now D and F are common points. From D to E, I have a capacitance of capacitor 2C. And from F to E, one more capacitor of capacitance 2C. That's it. So I have put all the capacitors. The circuit might look complex, but it is not. Okay, you can count the number of capacitors 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have put all the capacitors. See, these two are in parallel. C and C in parallel is 2C. Okay, I'll reduce it again. From A, it is 2C. Okay, and same way with this. From B to I, 4C, 4C in parallel together, it is 8C to I. And to this point BH, uh, Yeah, that point itself is this. So just a minute. It's better if we put the points first. Point A, or I'll rub this. A, again BH, again CG, then DF, and finally point E. Okay, and here I. So from A to BH, we have two capacitors in parallel, and together they can be added C plus C to C. From B to I, 4C plus 4C, 4C plus 4C, 8C. Okay, and from B or from BH to CG, 2C 2C in parallel, so it is 4C. Okay, and from this CG to DF, 3C 3C in parallel, together it is 6C, and from DF to E, 2C 2C in parallel, which will give me 4C, and from I to DF, here it is C and C in parallel, which will be 2C. And now you see this is in, these two are in series, 4C and 6C are in series, 8C and 2C are in series, solve them, and then these two are in parallel, then these three are in series, and hence you can solve it. You should solve and get the final capacitance of this example. The problem or the approach might look like a lengthy one, but upon practice you will get hold of it, and hence you can do it faster. And normally what they do is they'll give same capacitors in the capacitors. Even if they give different capacitances, you should be able to solve like this. Practice will make the speed better. But normally what they do is they'll put same capacitors, same capacitances, C. That will make the reduced circuit still simple, and hence you can solve it easily. Okay. So this is about parallel symmetry or horizontal symmetry. Okay. Now, before going to the next kind of symmetrical circuit, I would like to give few more approaches, or few more the next level of parallel symmetry. Say, if you have a circuit like this, yes, it is easy to solve. It is these two in series, these two in series, effectives in parallel, easy. What if you have a wire going from this end to this end? How do you solve this? Think over it. If you have such a wire, this point and this point are actually short. They are connected with each other, isn't it? So now these 2 points can be brought in contact, and hence it becomes a circuit of this kind. Right? Easy. That's it. Very easy, isn't it? So that is how you should think when you have simple wires without any capacitors connected like this. Okay? And then what if you have a single capacitor, okay, or say two capacitors, one here and the other here. Now, if you look close, they form axial symmetry or horizontal symmetry, isn't it? Reflection. Then bring this point in contact with this, and hence reduce the circuit and get the effective capacitance. Okay, easy again. Now, instead of two capacitors, what if they put single capacitor in between? Now it doesn't look like a symmetric circuit for us. No symmetry, because there is no the upper half and lower half. It's a single entity. You cannot say, so what if we divide the capacitor like this, put the line like this? No, you can't put the line between the capacitor plates of the capacitor. But yes, you can put two capacitors instead of one. How do we do that? Say this capacitor is of capacitance C. Okay, I'm not bothered about this. Anyhow, they should form the symmetry, that's it. That's the only requirement of me. But the middle one has the capacitance of C, they have given as such. So instead of simply C, what do you think if I replace, the rest of the circuit remains the same, and instead of this C, what if I draw two capacitors in series, two capacitors of capacitance 2C and 2C in series. Two capacitors of capacitance 2C and 2C will give me the effective capacitance of C itself. Keep that in mind. So I can split the capacitor like this. And why am I splitting it? Because I want to get the symmetry. And now I got horizontal symmetry, and I can solve the circuit now. Okay, so wherever you encounter or see this kind of single capacitor which is holding, or which is restricting, or I can say which is not letting the parallel symmetry to come. If you have single capacitor which is not letting the parallel symmetry to appear in the circuit, you can split that capacitor into two like this, and then you can get the symmetry and solve the circuit. Clear? This is about the extra parts of parallel symmetry. Okay, we shall continue it in the next session and finish it off. Okay.